Hey y'all, Rick Sky here. Welcome back to another Timepieces for Tomorrow video. Now this video will be a response to Niner. Niner is a very, and I should emphasize that, extremely loyal supporter of the channel, Our Skies Adventure channel and Timepieces for Tomorrow. Now before we continue, a quick wristwatch check. The Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Control 40mm. And I'm going to go ahead and pop open the email from Niner. I'm going to read that, and then we're going to continue with the response. So, Niner says, wanted to get your opinions and thoughts about Parmigiani Fleurier, specifically the Tonda GT reference PFC 906-0000140-B00182. So we're going to pull that up on the screen here from chrono24.com. And he says, settled on a budget with the wife for the first kid watch. Here's the thing. I'm still somewhat hung up on getting that Rolex two-tone Sea Dweller or Datejust 41, fluted Jubilee and blue dial. Both very nice. I'm really torn, man. I need something rugged as I actually wear my watches in all sorts of conditions. And then on the flip side, I want something elegant and a little sophisticated. Man, that guilloche on the Parmigiani Fleurier is singing me, but so is the brand name of Rolex. I do like the idea of having something most people wouldn't recognize, but also want to flash a little bling with that two-tone or Jubilee. Getting a Rolex to celebrate one's first child is quintessential reason to get a Rolex. They're made to celebrate life's greatest moments. Or is that a belief from the past? Anywho, would love to hear what you think. Best, Niner. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in here. And again, all my videos here on the Our Skies Adventure channel, Timepieces for Tomorrow, unfiltered feedback. And if you want to have your review, if you want to have your collection reviewed, or you have wristwatch questions like Niner has, shoot me an email. And my email is review@timepiecesfortomorrow.com. So let's go ahead and pull up the Parmigiani Tonda GT reference that Niner was mentioning. Now, I do like the design. Now, I'm gonna, and pardon me if I'm a little bit harsh within this video. I mean, I'm gonna speak the truth. I have no reason to be filtered. So one thing about Parmigiani, and actually, I'm wearing the Jaeger-LeCoultre while I filmed this video, because when I picked up my Jaeger-LeCoultre, they were trying to sell me a Parmigiani, and that was the authorized dealer. Actually, it was a situation where that particular authorized dealer where I got my Jaeger-LeCoultre, they were trying to get rid of their old stock of Parmigiani because apparently it wasn't selling that well. So Parmigiani, if you're not familiar with it, it is a respectable wristwatch brand, and it definitely is high-end. Actually, one of the royals, who is it? I think it may be the king now. What was his name? Charles or whatever? Sorry, I'm not that familiar with Europe. But I think he wears a Parmigiani. And one thing to note with the Parmigiani, especially this reference that you've mentioned, although it looks nice, on the dial it does say Parmigiani Fleurier, however you pronounce that. Parmigiani, since this reference that you've mentioned, they've now gone with an abbreviated name. They don't typically, on their current references, they don't spell out Parmigiani. It's typically just PF. PF. Now, when you think about that, when you think about PF, one might assume, Patek Philippe, if they don't know how to spell it. F, maybe it's Philippe instead of... Whoa. Did you hear that growl? That was raccoons, man. That was George Cooney and crew. But that's one thing that came to mind. Why would they use PF? Well, number one, they wanted to do away with Parmigiani because, and this isn't an insult, but a lot of people say Parmesan, like Parmesan cheese. And it's kind of a bad thing about the brand. Now, I'm not insulting Parmigiani. I've never owned a Parmigiani. I was presented the opportunity to purchase a Parmigiani for a deep, extremely deep discount. So if your thoughts are the possibility of trading or selling in the future, if you get one and you don't like it, I would say the resale of Parmigiani would definitely be of concern. So, you know, that's something one reason I would steer away from it. Now, I'm not telling you to steer away from it, but I'm just providing my honest feedback. And again, I could have gotten, although I got this deeply discounted because this is the 40 millimeter master control reference, and when I got it, it was when the 40 millimeter was heading out, because Jaeger-LeCoultre replaced the 40 millimeter master control with 39 millimeter. So they had an incentive to sell this, and of course I got it on the stainless bracelet, which is super comfortable, and I do not regret my purchase decision. But I could have gotten a Parmigiani for a fraction of the price, and they wanted to sell it to me, not because they were trying to dump a purchase decision upon me to clean up their old stock of a brand that they're probably not going to sell again. It was sincerely a deep, super deep Parmigiani discount. But that's how, just to kind of preface this video, that's how not against Parmigiani I am, but I'm just not interested in it. Now, what I would look at, since you're looking at this particular Parmigiani reference, I would steer you towards checking this out. And let me go ahead and pull it up here. And as I mentioned earlier, I am using Chrono 24, great website. I would be looking, if you like that, I would be looking at Vacheron Constantin Overseas Chrono. Because there's a lot of them. If you shop around, you could probably find a Vacheron for a similar price point. And again, my videos are not about price, because I know collectors' prices, I mean, there's people of all different financial status, and you know, price is not a fair way to preface any sort of recommendation. But I would steer you towards looking at these Vacheron Constantin Overseas, because they're the Chrono version, because they're very similar in design to what you have. But Vacheron, as you know, and the viewers out there may not know, but I know Niner, you probably know, Vacheron is part of the Holy Trinity. You've got Vacheron Constantin, you've got Audemars Piguet, and you've got Patek Philippe. So you would be getting a Holy Trinity piece instead of something that sounds like a block of cheese, to put it bluntly. So I'm not insulting Parmigiani. Don't take it that way, but I'm stating the facts here. So, and also the possibility, and nothing is guaranteed, but the possibility of retaining value and or appreciating is probably greatly enhanced if you went with a Vacheron instead of the Parmigiani. Things can change, because I remember back when the Vacheron Constantin Overseas was it was a dog. Nobody wanted it. And you know, and back in 2020, when wristwatch prices went through the roof, the Overseas became a very sought after timepiece. So trends can change. Now, you know, jumping back, and I'm going to pull your email back up, jumping back to your other comment about Rolex two-tone Sea Dweller, or Datejust 41 with the fluted Jubilee, with a fluted bezel and the Jubilee bracelet with blue. I think the Datejust 41 with the fluted and blue is great. If I was going to go Datejust, I would definitely, and this is personal preference, but I would definitely get it on a Jubilee bracelet, and I would definitely get it with a fluted bezel. Because if you get, in my opinion, if you get a Datejust on an oyster bracelet, or if you get a Datejust with a smooth bezel, whether it's with Jubilee or smooth bezel with oyster, it just looks funky. I think the best way to get a Datejust, and your size is right, the Datejust 41, I think 41 mil is great for that, today's standards. I would definitely go with the fluted bezel, and I would definitely go with the Jubilee bracelet. And I think your choice of dial color, the blue, that's great. And there's also a lot of other dial options that you could go with. And you mentioned two-tone with the not with the Datejust, but you mentioned two-tone with the Sea Dweller. And such a different, I mean, you're looking at you're looking at a chrono with a Parmigiani, you're looking at a dive watch with a Sea Dweller, and then you're looking at a dress watch you could still swim with the Datejust. I think among those three that you mentioned, I would definitely steer you towards a Datejust, because it's not it's a capable, oyster caseback swim within reason. I mean, don't go on some sort of extreme scuba diving expedition where your Datejust. But when you're in a pool or a hot tub or shower or something like that, the Datejust is probably going to be fine, assuming that the crown is screwed down. But I'm going to take it a step further, Niner, and I'm going to say, based upon what you said, I'm going to tell you to look at the two-tone fluted bezel, Jubilee bracelet, Wimbledon dial. If you can find a Wimbledon dial Datejust two-tone with fluted bezel, I think that would be a good thing to try to find. But I'm going to shift you back from your original thing. It sounds like you're wanting something that you're wanting to step away from Rolex with this. Now Rolex, unless things change, it's probably something that'll likely continue to appreciate, unless maybe they make a marketing mistake. Maybe the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation makes a huge marketing mistake and it makes the brand tank. Anything is possible. But in my opinion, the reality is that Rolex, when you think of wristwatches, even the non-wristwatch crowd, they think Rolex is the best watch in the world. It's a very nice watch. And since they've gone ceramic and they've improved their bracelets, it's a very nice watch. It'll probably last several lifetimes. Is it the best watch? A lot of that is linked to marketing. It's not. I love Rolex. I like them a lot. And it's typically, as I mentioned earlier, it's typically a safe purchase decision. But if your intent's to not ever consider selling or trading, in that situation, that would take Rolex out of the picture, because it's obviously you want something different. This is a special occasion, so you want something different, but you don't know what different is. But I will say that Parmigiani, even though it's different, in my opinion, if you're looking for chrono like that, high horology chrono, there's probably a lot of better options to pursue than Parmigiani. Vacheron Constantin Overseas chrono at the top of my list. Thinking of others, you didn't mention it, but what about a, good luck finding it, but if you have a relationship with an authorized dealer, what about a Rolex Daytona? You didn't mention that. So I think, aside from the Vacheron, you could look at some Jaeger-LeCoultre. Jaeger-LeCoultre makes a lot of nice chronos. You could look at, that's not up to snuff. I was thinking to say Breitling, but Breitling is not based upon what you've mentioned. It's a tier below, and you don't, for the thing you're trying to celebrate, you do not want something perceived as subpar. So you probably don't want to look at Breitling. You probably don't want to look at Omega. You could look at now something to consider. You could look at Zenith. If you haven't looked at those, now it sounds like an old TV brand, but the reality is they make some really cracking chronographs. So you could look at that. You could look at Glashütte. They make some interesting pieces. That's a less common manufacturer. You could look at I don't know. I'm going to steer you, if you're going the chrono route, I'm going to steer you away from the Parmigiani, and I'm going to steer you towards the Vacheron Constantin Overseas chrono. And as our pontiff, as you know, Archibald Chesterfield III, AC3 might say, it's got to hurt. So if that Parmigiani's not going to hurt enough, then the Vacheron will probably hurt a little bit more. So it's probably a good thing. But it's probably a good thing because it'll, and nothing's guaranteed, but it'll probably, if not retain its value, it could potentially appreciate if the current market trends continue. But with it, you're getting a manufacturer that is part of the Holy Trinity. So that alone places it on a pedestal way above Parmigiani. And you don't have to go somewhere and it's like, I mean, obviously the reference you mentioned, Parmigiani, it says Parmigiani Fleurier, or whatever you say it on the dial. It's not the more current reference that just says PF. At least at the P, if it said PF and somebody was asking, you could be like, they'd be like, what's PF? Is that Patek Philippe? No, it's Parmigiani Fleurier. And it sounds like cheese. What'd you say? And I'm not insulting Parmigiani, but I'm just speaking truth in the eyes of, and I know you're very well educated with wristwatches. I'm somewhat well educated. I've been doing it for over 30 years. But if potential resale, potential trade opportunity in the future is of concern, I think that would axe Parmigiani. Now, another manufacturer you may want to look at, and I really like this. Now, it's the one that I have is a dive watch with a power reserve indicator and small seconds. Ulysse Nardin. You got Ulysse Nardin Maxi Marine Diver. Now, they do a really good job. They're very uncommon in the wild. Now, over in European countries, you may see more of them, but they make some really nice chronographs. So you might want to check out Ulysse Nardin. So, I mean, that's another option. Patek Philippe, you're going to pay a premium, but they've got some options. So does Audemars Piguet, which is part of the Holy Trinity. But with those, you're obviously, even on the secondary market, you're entering a completely different price point. So, not saying that you couldn't do that. I mean, I don't know your financial situation, and I don't need to. But based upon your Parmigiani reference that you mentioned within the email to me, I'm thinking that there's a raccoon down there. Hold on. Oh, dude, there's a raccoon climbing the tree, man. Check this out, dude. No joke. There's a raccoon climbing the tree. Whoa, man. You didn't expect this, did you? Look. He's climbing the tree, bro. So you're kind of like a panda. Would you recommend a Rolex Daytona Panda? Or would you recommend a reverse panda? This is Niner on the live stream. He said, I would steer you towards checking out Zenith. Hey, no problem. So even the raccoon is not spruiking Rolex. Look at him, man. He's way up there. Dude, what are you trying to come up here and steal my steak? You trying to steal my steak, bro? He said, no, Niner, I'm just trying to steer you away from Parmigiani and then also steer you away from Rolex Daytona. Now, that is weird. So a raccoon that could easily recommend reverse panda or panda is steering you away from Rolex. He said, yeah, man, it's all the marketing. Now, they do make a good wristwatch. You got to acknowledge that. But when you're looking at Jaeger-LeCoultre, there's a difference between high horology and Rolex. Just like he says. Yeah, he said, I'm a raccoon, and I say no to Rolex. Now Rolex is still a good watch. Now, I respect your opinion, and I'm sure Niner does too, but okay. That's fair enough. Well, that's cool, man. You came all the way up the tree to insert your opinion within this video, and I really appreciate that. So there you have it, Niner, and I did not plan for the raccoon to strike down the Rolex Daytona consideration. But since he came up and said that, I mean, that was a valid point. That was very valid, and I respect your opinion. Thank you for being so considerate and sharing it. So Niner, I hope this helps. Thanks again for your loyal viewership. All of your super chats and your super thanks are deeply appreciated and acknowledged. And thank you for the email. And please, any questions that you and or your friends have, send me an email. Review at Timepieces for tomorrow, and I'll try to post a video response. Thanks for your viewership. Y'all have a good day. Thanks again for watching this video, and want to remind everyone, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. And if you've got a wristwatch or a wristwatch collection that you'd like for me to try to review within an upcoming video, send me an email, review at timepiecesfortomorrow.com. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.